hundreds evicted to make way for airport development. Frustrated students bring attention on rundown institution, and data from NID Project to be used in 2017.
This is National MTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
Good evening and welcome to another working week. A demolition exercise at 7 Mile near the Jacksons Airport last week as part of National Airports Corporation's bigger plans for development. More than 200 people were left homeless and some beaten up by members of the eviction squad. NAC's acting managing director Joseph Tupiri told MTV News today that NAC, in conjunction with the National Capital Districts Commission, are undertaking a major cleanup exercise within the aerodrome area.
This is part of portion 2965, which comes under NAC's plans for developments. Last week, over 200 people lived here. However, authorities have moved in to demolish the place, allowing for developments to take place. This group of people have been displaced after their homes were destroyed. They say they lost all they had in the demolition and some had their homes burnt down. Joe Kaime is an auditor with the Internal Revenue Commission. He lost a very expensive house built from hard-earned money.
Big house cost close to 300,000 to 400,000. Mix him loan because I'm a senior public servant. Mix him loan. Me took some loan. Mitla wanted some loan lo POSF. Mitla some loan lo BSP Bank. Na mitla work him.
Joe and several others say portion 1229 is land which they acquired through an agreement with the Hikari landowners through an incorporated land group.
Mi kam lo slab bin nogat one house is slab nogat one road is slab this have ground ground blong kasumi land all call him land group all call him motu koitabu land. Mi paim papa ground and mi baim daughters have ground half side and mi baim now half side them airways baim long now give me action mobile and working development long now. Mi stable half side mi stable long play yes mi stable display year year 9 blong mi stable slab.
In an interview this morning, NAC's acting MD Joseph Tupiri cleared the air on the demolition, saying NAC is using the original land boundaries under the gazetted aerodrome area for Jackson's Airport. He said portion 1229 has been consolidated together with portion 2427 to form what is now known as portion 2965.
What we have recently done is that we began to tidy up all of the original boundary that's declared as aerodrome land. So when you look at Port Moresby International Airport, the portion of land is 2965. Okay, 2965 is a consolidation of 2437 and 1229.
Mr. Tupiri said there was a misunderstanding where landowners sold parts of the aerodrome area to outsiders. However, this has been realized and NAC is working with landowners to resolve this matter.
There were misunderstandings on where the boundary is, yeah? And so it is possible that the former landowners may have thought that maybe this is outside of the land and we may have some right. But what happened is when they realized now that that was all within aerodrome land, they say, okay, all this is for the state. We sorry about what happened, okay? This is now we need to develop the airport, so this is all together recognized even by us that this is aerodrome land.
NAC says more demolitions and clearing up will follow in the months ahead to make way for more developments in preparation for upcoming international events like the Pacific Games and the 2018 APEC meeting. Michelle Amba, National MTV News.
The Motor Vehicle Insurance Limited has recorded over 8,000 uninsured vehicles operating on roads in Papua New Guinea. MVIL Chairman Joe Wemin released these figures in Port Moresby this morning. From these figures, the National Capital District had the highest with 3,844 uninsured vehicles.
Following NCD, Morobe had the second highest with 1,334 and Western Islands with 505 uninsured vehicles. According to Section 54 of the MVIL Act, the owner of the uninsured vehicle is allowed to use his vehicle for only 10 days after the vehicle insurance expires. After 10 days, it becomes illegal and the owner must renew its insurance.
Under the law, there are allowed. The vehicle owners are allowed to use the vehicle.
The Act also states that if an uninsured vehicle is involved in a road accident, MVIL is, by law, responsible to pay basic compensation for any injury sustained and compensate the lives taken in the event the victim dies. With the recent major road accidents in the country last month, MVIL is embarking on motorists to insure their vehicles.
There is a new law in place now, and that penalty will be very hefty from I think next year onwards.
Each year, MVIL spends over 1.2 million kina as compensation for road accidents. This year, MVIL will be amending the Act so the owner of the uninsured vehicles will be responsible to compensate the damages or injuries caused during an accident. Tekla Gunga, National MTV News.
In an exclusive interview with MTV News today, the Electoral Commissioner Andrew Trowen confirmed that data collected from the National Identity Project will be used in the 2017 national elections. Although more time is needed for Papua New Guineans to register, Trowen says his officers are already on the ground registering.
From previous elections in PNG, problems arise from double voting and there are incidences of underage children voting. Mr. Trowen confirms that the data collected from NID will be used for the purpose of the 2017 national elections. But before it can be used, they will cross-check with the records in their system with the data collected from NID to ensure that everyone is included. For new voters and those that missed out in registering, the Electoral Commission will enter them into the electoral roll in order for them to vote.
Most of our data are still out in the field. And we are yet to collect them. So it will take time for us to receive this data from the field.
The NID project was launched in November last year by the Department of Planning and Monitoring in partnership with the Electoral Commission and Civil Registry. PNG NID is an ID card system that will have personal information and statistics or data of all PNG citizens. The system prevents double voting as your identity will appear on the screen once the ID card is presented. It is a reform into the Electoral Commission, Civil Registry and the National Statistics Office to keep up to date with the national census and electoral roll. The information from the census will be available annually instead of the usual 10-year census cycle. The pilot project has already started in the Yalebu Pange electorate of the Southern Highlands Province. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News.
The latest report by the Asian Development Bank highlights the need for private sector reforms. This is vital if Papua New Guinea is to realize its potential for economic development. The report was launched by the lead economist with ADB's Pacific Private Sector Development Initiative at a breakfast hosted by the PNG Chamber of Commerce and Industry at the Royal Papua Yacht Club here in Port Moresby.
This new report, launched today by the Asian Development Bank, basically looks at the complex environment affecting private sector businesses in the country.
The report, Building a Dynamic Pacific Economy, Strengthening the Private Sector in Papua New Guinea, identifies the main constraints to private sector growth. The report also recommends policy adaptations. Head of the ADB in PNG, Marcelo Mink, said efforts like infrastructure development are needed for PNG to realize its potential.
While this report focuses on the challenges PNG faces in achieving its economic development ambitions, it also highlights the immense potential this country has to capitalize on its vast wealth. With the right reforms in place for new business to emerge and existing ones to expand, the benefits of future resource exports could be spread throughout the economy for decades to come.
The report is one of 5 private sector assessments being produced this year by the Pacific Private Sector Development Initiative. The private sector assessment reviews PNG's key approaches to developing the economy, attracting private investments, and steering market-based growth.
The prime issue that faces Papua New Guinea now is to consolidate the growth that has occurred and to make sure that it continues.
To help make PNG a safer, more productive and easier place to do business, the report offers recommendations on investments in infrastructure, reforms to essential services delivery, ways in which PNG can improve access to finance for business, and efforts to improve safety in personal and business transactions.
Asian Development Bank said that the potential for the private sector to contribute to inclusive, broad-based and sustainable growth in PNG is very high. Deli Waigeno, National MTV News.
Well, students at Lay's Polytechnic Institute have moved to demonstrate after seeing no maintenance work carried out on campus infrastructures. Vehicles have been blocked from entering the campus's main gates since Saturday, closely monitored by frustrated students. This comes following the boycott that has put the institution on hold for more than a week now after students complained on the use of rundown facilities.
Student frustrations have built up following the long wait to see maintenance work carried out on infrastructures at the National Polytechnic Institute. Following the week-long boycott, a demonstration that saw frustrated students showing their dissatisfaction over the delay by the administration.
The demonstration took place at around 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning.
In addressing their concerns, bonfires that raged from 2 a.m. till 6 in the morning on Saturday, and the campus main gates blocked off passing vehicles. Today, the remains of the incident in front of the institute's entrance still lies fresh. The gate is being monitored by a group of students to ensure that other DODL and APTC students do not access the campus facilities. SRC President Gary Gumembi says the students will not settle for classes until they see their facilities repaired.
There wasn't a clear time frame given, and it took them, they have allocated 300,000 for this crisis. They call it the crisis, and they have come up with crisis committee, but it took them, I don't know if the 300,000 is actually, there's some money in there or this is just a figure, but this 300,000 came up for Thursday and Friday, nothing happened.
The boycott has now dragged into its 12th day. As the students continue to maintain their stand in boycotting classes, the main gates leading into the campus have also remained closed. Colin Barilai, National MTV News, Lay.
The All Search Baton relay tours more remote villages in Hela province. We'll have that and more stories after the break. Stay with us. Good to have you back with the news. Moran Special Authority in the Hulia LLG of Komamagarima District in Hela Province now has an elected board in place after 6 months of waiting. The new authority chairman is Gibson Tiggy and deputy chairman is Paul Yahweh. The election was presided over by Magistrate Samson Tarakali at the Hideaway Hotel here in Port Moresby.
It took 6 months since November of last year to conduct the swearing-in ceremony of the board executives of Moran Special Purpose Authority. The people claimed the process was delayed by the Department of Provincial Government Affairs.
Election Moran November last year. You play Bagaraim now, you play take him this fight come until me play at Gazero. Me play him Gazero now, plus swearing in. So, Mrs. Blomi and Golong, Secretary of Provincial Affairs, one time all workman blow you, wherever you stop, you can't miss the message to go. Papua New Guinea got plenty of special purpose authority stuff. This is the same kind of person, but no one come up because this is like you by Bagaraim system.
Despite the delay, the people represented by the 20 Integrated Land Group Chairman voted the Moran Special Purpose Authority Chairman Gibson Tiggy and his deputy Paul Yahweh unopposed. Also in attendance were officers from the Department of Provincial Affairs and LLGs. The rest of the board members were also sworn into office, taking an oath to serve the people they represent in the Hulia LLG of Komamagarima District in the resource-rich Hela Province. The rest of the ex-officio members will be sworn into office in the coming weeks. Bridget Komatep, National MTV News.
The perception that women are their own worst enemies needs to be changed to allow progress of women empowerment. Minister for Religion, Youth and Community Development, Delilah Gore, says this attitude only creates barriers and differences. She delivered this message as a challenge to the PE Women's Association in Manus recently.
Minister Gore made an 11th-hour dash to Manus with a special package for the PE Manus Women's Association. On behalf of the Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, she presented a cheque of 100,000 kina to empower the work of PE Manus. This is part of the 500,000 kina commitment made by the Prime Minister towards women in Manus. President of PE Manus Association Nahar Rooney says this is the highest amount ever received by the association. She says the money will be used on various activities under the Gender Equality Program.
Part and parcel of the government entity. So you mean by walk, long Mary, long Manus, na long Papua New Guinea, and need long gender equality participation.
The Manus provincial government has recognized the association as an important player in development. However, these policies alone cannot change the course of women. Rather, a mindset shift in women themselves could make a big difference.
The challenge I have today is when women try to pull another woman down, when we have divisions, and when we criticize and talk about each other. That's the attitude and habit of women we have today. And that is why we women cannot stand together and work, and we cannot voice together to achieve what we want to achieve.
Goris says men have shifted in their mindset towards gender equality. However, women tend to create impediments to their own growth and development. Policies are being created at the national level to advocate on women's issues, and the minister encouraged all women to cooperate and expedite the process. Mickey Cavera, National MTV News.
More Papua New Guineans are receiving basic financial education on savings and budgeting through the joint partnership program between the state, the Australian government and the Asian Development Bank. The microfinance expansion program has already reached over 8,300 people in the Highlands region. From that, almost half are women. An additional 5,000 men and women graduated from the program over the weekend with small business plans that they are eager to achieve.
Most of these men and women who participated in the MEP program are locals who have zero financial background but are heavily involved in the informal sector. They said the training has helped them realize the importance of having a savings culture. Josephine Penna is a local coffee grower. She is one of the 400 participants from Kunjimbini Pramdaka Association who graduated over the weekend. She said with the understanding she acquired, she can now identify when to spend and when not to.
All pignini blom yubla is kolo elementary na bat na blogolong high school na bata no kat money so bislam problem na all na sa golo samlol big plus school me blol kita me blol kanaka straight lo fles.
MEP is a national government project facilitated through the Bank of Papua New Guinea and other financial partners. Its aim is to educate and empower people in rural communities to practice a savings culture, manage their finances, start up a new business, or expand on their existing businesses.
It's important long you will survey long basic means long survival. We need to break out of our cultural practices. Sometimes person blow me blow tumuna come enough now. Good plan. That's all plan is something good plan too.
We have two different savings accounts. One is FISA and one is BILUM. In both accounts, we're almost reaching 3,000, so it's between the ranges of 5,000 and 6,000 in Hagen branch alone.
So far, over 8,000 people in the islands region have completed the training and have opened bank accounts. Since establishing its Mount Hagen branch, the People's Microbank Limited recorded an estimated 4,000 customers who opened bank accounts with PML through MEP. Assistant PML branch manager in Mount Hagen, Julie Penna, explained that though Papua New Guineans are capable of making money, many lack the ability to save some for rainy days. An additional $3.4 million was given by the Australian government through the Foreign Aid and Trade, formerly known as Australian Aid, to conduct the financial education in the other 3 regions.
Programs like this one will create the foundations for people to save money, and for PNG businesses to contribute to the country's growth.
Takla Gunga, National MTV News.
Safety in the mining operation like the Pogera gold mine is better emphasized to employees when the need to be safe is linked to their families back home. Barrick New Guinea Limited Executive General Manager PNG, Greg Walker, reminded Barrick employees at Pogera, who were parents themselves, to think about their children in order to be safe at work.
Mr. Walker echoed the reminder during the National Mining Safety Week at the Pogera mine site.
So just remember, safety is about you, but it impacts others. It impacts your family. And remember what it does to your family. If you have a serious injury and maybe you cannot work ever again, the impact that has on you, your family, and your extended family, particularly your children. We have a responsibility as fathers, as mothers, as adults. We have a responsibility to our children. And it seems strange, but that responsibility means making sure you go home every day to your family.
He also called on everyone to help their colleagues and people around them as well. Barrick Senior Manager Operations Damien Shaw also introduced the mines inspectors. Mr. Amukele of MRA shed some light on the role of the Mines Inspectorate Division at MRA.
The role of a mines inspector basically it's to ensure that you are healthy and you are safe in doing your task. So time we blow about round or we come to visit this place, no can look at me blow na you poret lo mi plan. No. We are here to help you and see that everything is okay around here.
Some of the things he identified which exposed employees to unsafe work environments were complacency, ignorance and taking shortcuts.
I've seen that one of the things that can help us is you individuals have to think through the problem or think through what you want to do in workplace to you.
This year's National Mining Safety Week at Pogera featured set-up of occupational health and safety villages at all major locations across the mine site. Drills by the Barrick Emergency Response Aviation Rescue Team and the school targeted road safety awareness for students were some of the highlights of the week-long activities. Mickey Cavera, National MTV News.
Well, more than a month since the old Search Baton relay began its journey around the country, locals have warmly welcomed the relay team. The Baton is about to begin the Sipik River adventure after visiting the Hela province. Here's MTV's Jeremy Mogi with more highlights from Hela.
Continuing on the journey, the Baton had to pass through different regions. The Baton stopped so the Hela Huli women could pass it on to the women of Hela Tukupa. As the Baton was now in their lands, the Baton arrived early in Como. It took the chance to visit Como Airport, built by the LNG and serving as the longest airstrip in the country. With runners ready at Como, they received the Baton from the Hela Tukupa women, then proceeded to run the circuit of the oval, passing on to new runners along the way. With the circuit complete, the crowd moved in to get a touch of the Baton. It was a 2-hour drive to travel to Korba Station, a place that has changed dramatically over the past 2 years, with new agriculture projects well underway. The district administrator began the relay, the crowd quickly getting behind him, and chanting started. The baton was passed between the delegated runners of Korba, supported by 2 young boys in traditional dress. They too having a chance to hold the baton. The baton continued to change hands on its way to the football field, where it was passed through 2 lines of Hela Wigman. The end of the relay brought the baton back to the district administrator, who informed the audience the government would be putting up 4 big television screens around the station so all could watch the Pacific Games. The day's journey finished at the bridge between the 2 districts. The baton passed from the Taripori tribesmen to the Korba Kopiago tribesmen. The Oil Search Baton relay continues. Jeremy Mogi, National MTV News.
And now we check out the finance news. The Kina closed 10 points lower at $0.3705 in the interbank market. And at Bank South Pacific, our Kina was fetching $0.3630 $0.4604 Australian dollars, $0.3204 euro, and 43.19 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee and cocoa closed the day lower, while copper closed higher. Palm oil and crude oil closed lower, while copper closed the day higher. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 184 points higher, the ASX closed at 12 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 15 points higher as well. And in more news to come, relief supplies for West New Britain floods halted, and Nepalese pray for victims of last week's earthquake that killed thousands. Stay with us. Thanks for your company and welcome back to the news. Relief distribution for flood-affected communities in West New Britain has been halted. West New Britain Governor Sasindran Muthuvel says the relief funding was released by Finance Department not as a relief grant but as a provincial administration grant, meaning the Provincial Assembly will commune a supplementary budget to release the 1 million kina.
A frustrated West New Britain governor told MTV to approve the 1 million kina the Provincial Assembly has to go through a supplementary budget. Governor Muthuvel says this consumes time and has now seen all relief efforts come to a stop.
Right now it's all been temporarily halted due to lack of funding.
All donations and relief items are being stored at the West New Britain Provincial Disaster Centre awaiting this lengthy process.
Concern is, why would we give hard time to the disaster relief effort by simply giving the money to a grant account rather than giving it to the disaster relief account, which is the trust account. So that also was not communicated.
Meanwhile, people in Biala are using log bridges to cross and access services in Kimbe Town. The Provincial Department of Works is assembling Bailey bridges while awaiting permanent bridges.
As soon as they have the funds, operating funds, that 1 million released to them for further purchase of housing materials and other things, then they will start distributing these relief efforts items.
Governor Muthuvel says about 13 million kina is needed to restore infrastructures damaged by floods, but only 3.9 million has been given.
Both Tivule and Tiauru, both has been given a temporary access through a logging bridge by Department of Works.
Again, Governor Muthuvel is calling on the national government to act quickly and help the province as it contributes 1 billion kina in exports and 200 million kina in tax revenue. Jacob Power, Junior National, MTV News.
A candlelight ceremony and vigil was held last night in Port Moresby to commemorate the dead and injured victims of the massive earthquake in Nepal. The ceremony also marks the appeal for donations to assist in relief efforts for communities affected by the earthquake. The non-resident Nepalese Association and Indian community staged the solemn ceremony.
The ceremony started with prayers by all faiths to comfort the grieving and those still in shock after the 7.8 magnitude earthquake shook and shattered Nepal. As a sign of solidarity among those gathered, candles were lit and laid down under the clear skies of Port Moresby. Indian High Commissioner to PNG Madhava Chandra, who was part of the ceremony last night, said the candlelight ceremony brings the oneness despite the distance.
For the people who have passed away in Nepal and as an expression of our solidarity with the people of Nepal in their hour of need.
UN Residential Coordinator Roy Trivedi called for the international community to come forward as a sign of unity in supporting restoration in Nepal.
Our thoughts are with those people to really think about what that means for people's lives, and it will take months and possibly even years for people to recover from this.
The Indian Association of Papua New Guinea and Non-Nepalese Association will carry out a campaign drive for donations to help the displaced and homeless in Nepal.
Our thoughts are behind all the families. support is behind the fundraising charity, the events that these guys are going to do, and this is all we can do, and we all have to dig deep.
Over 7,000 are dead and more than 14,000 injured, but the death toll is set to increase as rescue efforts and assessment of damages continue. Jack Lapave, Junior National, MTV News.
Meanwhile, in Nepal, Kathmandu residents also appeared in numbers to pray for those affected by the massive earthquake which hit the nation 9 days ago, killing over 7,000 people and an estimated 600,000 houses destroyed. While humanitarian aid continues, the people are comforted in their thoughts and prayers. Buddhists celebrate the day with prayers and chanting as they walk around the mosque. Many also light candles for themselves and their loved ones. 3 people were pulled alive from the rubble of their home 8 days after Nepal's devastating earthquake, as a supply logjam threatened to hamper relief efforts bolstered by the arrival of US aircraft and troops. Residents in the temple complex say they would pray for the nation and its people.
Because of earthquake, we have suffering from many problems, so I've come here for praying for them also.
According to the United Nations, 600,000 houses have been destroyed or damaged. Tents have been pitched in Kathmandu's main sports stadium and on its golf course. Government officials say efforts to step up the pace of delivery of relief material to remote areas were also frustrated by a shortage of supply trucks and drivers.
I'm just going to pray for peace for all of nation and people.
The United Nations says 8 million of Nepal's 28 million people were affected, with at least 2 million needing tents, water, food and medicine over the next 3 months. In a bid to crack down on pornography, the Nauru government has directed the nation's sole internet service provider, Digicel, to block all websites that contain pornography, particularly those that feature children. The ban also covers the social networking site Facebook.
The ban came into effect on April 30. Moral and religious grounds were the main reasons behind the ban, according to a statement issued by the government. Nauru's Justice Minister David Adyang said that Nauru had the right to promote values that helped build the nation, values based on scripture. He added that child pornography is at odds with these values and that pornography leads to family breakdowns and a lack of respect towards women. The minister acknowledged that some people abroad may disagree with the government's decision. He said this was because many outside of Nauru do not understand Pacific or Nauruan culture. The opposition and refugee advocates, however, are criticizing the government's ban on Facebook. Opposition MP Matthew Batsua says that he considers the move as a way to stop Nauruans from using Facebook to lash out at the government, dismissing claims of moral ethics being the reason for the ban. He said the real agenda was to curb the rights of people accessing social media sites, and that the government has become worried over the people criticizing their leadership, with many describing their government as having a dictatorial style of managing the nation's affairs. He cited the shutting out of members of the opposition, the lack of scrutiny or debate on policies and activities, the growing list of expatriate personnel shunted off Nauru, and the now social media curb as some of the dictatorial tactics the government is using. Ian Rontwal from the Refugee Action Coalition agreed with the opposition, saying the government is not far short of being a dictatorship, and dismissed claims by the government that they are simply trying to crack down on internet pornography. Mr. Rontwal said the government has been issuing decrees on where people can protest, adding that there is a growing disquiet among people in Nauru as they feel they are treated the same way as refugees. The opposition has said that they are interested to know how other Pacific countries would react to this latest censorship by the Nauru government. Sasha Pesilovo, MTV World News.
Well, Trukai Sports is coming up next, and it's touchdown for our Rugby Touch team after their successful campaign. They even shocked Australia and New Zealand. I'll bring you all the details coming up after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The PNG Rugby Touch team achieved a milestone in their recent Rugby Touch World Cup campaign. They came away with bronze medal and now ranked 3rd out of 50 countries in the world. The Open men's team shocked reigning champions Australia and New Zealand with an outstanding display of skill, beating South Africa in the semi-finals. The team arrived today at the Jackson's International Terminal. Here's Shane Saroya with this report.
The PNG Rugby Touch team returned today with medals to show from. The team put on showstoppers at the World Cup, leaving the audience in awe of their performance. The team's head coach said they went into the tournament with a goal to finish at least 5th in the overall rankings. But even better, they finished 3rd out of 50 countries that participated in the World Cup.
The rest of the 50 countries in the world, it's so massive, you know. And to come out 3rd out of the 50 countries, it's something that we'll take on board, and I think we look forward to the Pacific Games come.
In lead-up matches and even World Cup, they played with 11 players because some of them had to sort out visa requirements. The guys hung in there and got the job.
Countries, words can't describe the feeling after the game, and still words can't describe the feeling at the moment right now.
The preparation and build-up towards the games have been going on since 2010. And having played against Samoa and Fiji in the World Cup, they should know what to expect from the Pacific Islanders come the Pacific Games. The PNG Touch team now ranked 3rd in the world and 1st in the Pacific region. Massive achievement not only for the team but to the country as a whole. This win now sets the pace for the upcoming 2015 Pacific Games. Shane Saroya, National MTV Sports.
Congratulations to the boys. Over to karate. Last weekend featured the first provincial Kyokushin karate tournament at the IPA Hall here in Port Moresby. The tournament saw many young enthusiastic fighters take to the dojo to see who would come out the winner in their respective divisions.
Yeah, Kyokushin karate is based on a full contact format. There's a set of rules that governs the way we fight in the ring, and it's not similar to any other karate styles where they fight non-contact or semi-contact. So with Kyokushin, we fight full contact without any paddings, but the rules of the tournament is very strict and is controlled by the corner judges and the center referee to make sure that the participants are safe and making sure that they can also continue to fight in future tournaments as well.
The tournament featured 3 divisions: men's heavyweight, men's middleweight, and men's lightweight. And for the first time, the competition included a junior division, which saw younger fighters compete. The gold medal winner from the lightweight division was Stephen Tommy, representing TKU Port Moresby.
Me feel welcome, me feel comfortable to fight the fight because me committee mate been trained, and me ready to the game, so me feel my master to take part in this game.
Kyushin Karate was introduced to Papua New Guinea in 1996 and has been slowly gaining popularity in recent years.
And now we're just coming back together again and putting Kyokushin Karate first in the country, and hopefully today is the the first step in that direction. We're hoping that after today's event we'll be then coordinating a national event proposed for the second half of this year.
Kyokushin Karate plans to have a number of tournaments throughout the year, with the second Morobe Kyokushin Karate PNG Nationals in September. Dion Kombeng, National MTV Sports.
Over to soccer. Well, goals by Wilson Gia, Tommy Sammy and Emmanuel Aram ensured a 3-1 victory for Hikari over Lake City Dwellers in round 14 of the Telkom National Soccer League yesterday. Nigel Dabinyaba brought one back for the home visitors in the second half, but it was not good enough as Hikari now top the table with 1 game in hand. Jeremy Moge has more.
Now, in what had been billed as the clash of the entire competition, this weekend's round 14 matchup between league leaders Hikari FC and Lake City Dwellers lived up to expectation. Before the game, however, head coach Peter Gunemba had said that Lake City Dwellers were coming to this match trying to show that they could match up with the big guns.
We know that it will be a very tough game for us. They are a champion. We believe they have the upper hand over us, but we are determined to give them a good run. It is the ball game that we play in the field. If we play to our best, we could win this game. I have no doubt for my players. We are prepared for this game. I believe we will play best today.
However, in the first 45 minutes, it was Tommy Sammy who opens the scoring for Hikari FC. And then soon after that, Wilson Gia latching onto a loose ball coming from across from Tommy Sammy himself. Striker Tommy Sammy.
Second goal.
The second half proving far more entertaining than the first. 3 yellow cards, 1 red to defender, Hikari defender Peter Bolatonga, and Nigel Dabinyaba had thought that he'd put Lacey Dwellers back on track after 50 minutes with a brilliantly taken goal. However, that wasn't to be. It was a substitute, Emmanuel Irem, who came on and on the 93rd minute scored Hikari's 3rd goal for them to clinch victory, 3-1. Jeremy Moggy, National, MTV Sports.
Well, Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Good to have you back with Trukai Sports. Over to NRL. New Zealand shocked the Kangaroos with an easy win, 26 points to 12 at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. The Kiwis now have beaten the Kangaroos 3 times in a row, the first time they have achieved a hat-trick of wins since 1952 and 1953.
The Kiwis came out firing in the first half and were first to put points on the board with a penalty. But it was the Kangaroos who crossed the line first when Sam Thaiday scored in the 13th. The Kiwis then took over with the beast, Manu Vatavai, scoring a double, and Sean Johnson and Kenny Dowell grabbing a try each. This saw New Zealand race to a 26 points to 6 lead going into halftime. In the second half, the Kangaroos fought back, getting close to the try line but unable to score. And in the 59th minute, Will Chambers scored for Australia.
Back to Chambers, they must score here, you would think. Or have they defended it again? I'm on tackle 3. Crowd says yes.
The Kangaroos were denied several times and the Kiwis' defence proved too strong, holding off the Kangaroos to win 26 points to 12. Dion Kombeng, National, MTV Sports.
Over to athletics. Now, we all know Usain Bolt as the world's fastest man, but that didn't stop America from beating him in the 4x100 meter relay at the World Relay Championship in the Bahamas. On Saturday, the US posted a time of 37.38 seconds, defeating Jamaica by 0.3 of a second. Here are the highlights. The Americans in lane 5 had the better start through Mike Rogers, who powered on to hand the baton to Justin Gatlin. Gatlin bolstered his team's great start by displaying outstanding long strides and sprinting with ease. It was then given to veteran Tyson Gay to shuttle the baton to Ryan Bailey, with Jamaica trailing in hindsight. Although Usain Bolt made up ground on Bailey, he couldn't close the gap. Bailey then put the cherry on top of the cake and brought Team USA over the line at 37.38 seconds. The Americans' time equaled the 7th fastest ever over the distance, as all 8 teams in the final, including 3rd place Japan, earned automatic qualifying spots for the Rio 2016 Olympics. The victory highlighted a sparkling night for the US athletes, who also set a world record in the women's distance medley and took top honours in the men's 4x800 meter relay. Shannon Rowe-Berry anchored the US women home in 10 minutes and 36.5 seconds in the medley, with strong support from Triana Moser, Sanya Richards-Ross and G. Wilson. Robbie Andrews led the US men to a championship record of 7 minutes and 4.84 seconds in the 4x800, with Poland second and Australia third. Misfortune struck the Americans in the other final, the women's 4x200, when Geneva Tamo and Alison Felix collided. Nigeria claimed victory in 1 minute and 30.52 seconds, with Jamaica second after the Bahamas were disqualified. Well, True Kai Sports ends on that note. The weather details for the next 24 hours after these short messages. Stay tuned.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
A quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In southern region, Port Moresby and Allentown to look forward to cloudy periods. In Momase, evening showers expected in Wewak and Madang. In the New Guinea Islands, mostly fine for Lorengau and Kavieng. And lastly, in the Highlands region, brief evening showers, then morning fog expected in Goroka and Kundiawa. Now, before we go, a quick recap of our top headlines again tonight. Hundreds evicted to make way for airport development. Also, the National Identity Project to be used in the 2017 national elections. And in sports, our Rugby Touch team ranked 3rd in the world. Well, that's been National MTV News to start off another working week. On behalf of the news crew, I'm Tokana Hasavi. Thanks heaps for your company. You take care and stay safe. Good night.